Hello, friends, and welcome back to Orbit Shift, a place where I work with you with your thoughts, feelings, and actions to take them to the next level of impact. Now, what is the real test of character of a human being? Think about it for a while. The real test is how we behave when we are corrected, when we get delayed, when others cause some delay, when there is some disappointment, when we are opposed, or when we are ignored or judged or criticized, etc. This is where the real character of a person is seen in how we can choose positive responses. This is what, in our Vedic terms, we will call the true samskaras of a person. But look around us carefully today. What is happening? People are not just tired anymore, they're really irritated. A little above that, they're angry, and really up the scale, there are several people walking around in complete rage. Slightest provocation, and they do some serious damage to their environment. The smallest disagreement becomes a personal attack on life, sometimes attack on property, and then it goes way too far. Look at the number of aggression, road rage, murder cases that are coming out these days. The smallest delay becomes a reason for somebody to shout. The smallest correction becomes a reason for somebody to insult. The smallest inconvenience becomes the reason for somebody to take such a full action which has no reversal and huge repercussions. On road there is rage. At homes there are people who are snapping. At work there are people who are taking postures and manipulating and inflicting injuries and destroying others' careers. Online there is so much of noise and attack instead of sensible conversation. In families, people are punishing each other with silence. Think about that. In the workplace, that same silence takes another turn where you replace somebody very silently by bringing somebody on top of them, or ignoring a person from important work and letting them wither out. So much of that is happening. In fact, in offices you see these so much these days that people are smiling in meetings, but behind the scenes they are already making plans to destroy the other person through some corridor conversations and gossip, or sometimes through false complaints and implications. Sometimes people are just destroying other people's careers by shutting down the options and allowing them to effectively work by creating so many problems around them that they're just not able to function. And then we are calling ourselves a civilized society. Think about what we are doing, my friends. Today, the stage in which we are in the society is the second stage of social decline. The first one is when people stop listening and start becoming defensive, and that's something that I've spoken about very recently about. But we are already in the second stage, so we are doing a of the first and second stage, and the second stage is when we really start attacking. This attack, my friends, this aggression, this anger, my friends, happens in two ways. The visible aggression, obviously, is the shouting, screaming, threatening, insulting, the road rage, public humiliation, emotional outbursts, abusive speech, and whatever you can name in that range. In fact, there are people today who justify abuses, with some romanticized poetic version as if it is a de-stress for them. That's the degree of degradation we are in. But there is also the hidden aggression, and which is far more harmful. All the judgments, all the sarcasms, the passive punishments that we give people, character assassination that we do, office politics, framing, scheming, manipulation, deception, silent hostility, sometimes the selective exclusion from projects and important things, letting the other person wither away. There are so many dangerous smiles in the workplace today, which says, oh, it's fine, oh, I am fine. But that other person has already decided how to destroy and take revenge from the other person. Do we really go to the workplace to work or take revenge? We really need to ask this question. Do we go to work, or really pull down other people or the other department or the other function? Think about it. Far too many people are coming to work today not to do the work, but either be defensive, which is the first stage of degradation, or be aggressive, which is the second state of degradation. So, many times at homes we say things like, I'm only saying this for your own good. But is it really that? Or at work, you may say, I'm giving you feedback and I'm just being honest about this. In society, sometimes we are saying that I'm speaking facts. That's how we are sort of presenting our aggression in a very polished way. Now, these would have been valuable statements if we had said this once in a while with absolute clarity and validity. But 99.99% of the cases today are not at all valid. Truth without compassion becomes violence. Feedback without dignity becomes domination. Honesty without self control is becoming cruelty. And this is where aggression is spreading so much more, because people are hiding behind being real when actually the problem is their own emotional dysregulation, their own consistency, and their own inability to handle pressure. Let's be very fair. There is good in this society even today. There are children who experience very good parenting and their parents are not humiliating. There are some leaders who still today are very caring. They are not cruel. There are couples today who have still held on to each other despite a lot of challenges between them. There are friends who have managed to overcome several misunderstandings and things. Then there are people today who are genuinely honest. So good exists for sure, but the degree of bad today is so much that it's unmissable. And I'm sure you, my friend, have experienced that in your own life. Some workplace statistics. Gallup in 2026 mentioned that 22%, if I'm not wrong, percentage of people or employees worldwide, they experienced anger just a day back at the workplace. In India, I think that number was a little higher at around 31% of it. Then some other survey said 1 in 4 employee in a workplace in the past month has experienced workplace conflict. Imagine that. And this is not just about workplace. This is about the human temperament and the human climate that is changing. What is happening with us? What is happening to our society today? First, a very important reason. Our modern life has simply overloaded our nervous system. And this is everything to do with traffic, sleeping less, bad food, scrolling on social media, all the voices that hit us, parenting under pressure, money worries, EMI and loan issues, bad workplace environment and stimuli, constant mental noise, and absolutely less sleep, very little exercise, very little healthy habits. A mind that is overstimulated is easily going to be irritated and violent. Second thing, our egos have become so fragile. So where there's very little value education, there is very little anchoring on values and dharma in life. Earlier, correction was a part of how we grew. Today, correction is seen as somebody assessing us and saying that you don't have a chance to progress. Everybody wants to perform all the time, and correction is seen as somebody cutting into our performances returns. That's how bad our ego fragility is today. The moment somebody says this behavior has to be corrected, you say, how dare you? Because everybody has become so-called jnani, a wise person, and they know what is the best for them. And that's not the way to look at life. Most of us are not following a standard on what the ego should be built on. And those those standards used to be values at one point in time. Third, our families have stopped teaching, niceness and care and practicing restraint. At one point in time, the families used to be the comeback of almost everyone, where there was love, there was camaraderie, there was celebration, there was joy. Today, everybody is running around for performance. Often, both the parents working, the children trying to perform. There is an issue everywhere, and there's very little self-control in the family. We are sleeping whenever it is, we are waking up whenever it is, hardly any family celebrations. People are not spending time at dinner together. So what is happening? We are again reinforcing negative habits, and there is very little restraint, there is very little unwinding. So let's not be surprised that when a person comes back home, or if at all they come back home, and whenever they come home, and if there is any quality time at all, in most cases, there's hardly any coming back home, hardly any quality time at home. Where do you recharge? Where do you bounce back from? And that's not happening. And that further builds the degradation in society. Fourth, in general, our society has started valuing aggression more, faster performance, faster this, faster that. The loudest person gets all the attention. The most dramatic person gets sympathy, the most manipulative person gets all the control, the votes, the position, and things. The most ruthless people are called smart and ambitious and passionate. The people who stay decent mostly are called weak. I mean, imagine you are driving calmly and slowly on a road today without disturbing anyone, and there are people who are trying to honk at you and saying, "Move aside," because we want to move fast. Even if you're driving in a slow lane, that's what the society is training us to do today. And this is society training itself for its own downfall. Remember, at home, aggression is going to destroy tenderness. And that's what is happening with us, with our partners, with our children, with our parents. In marriages, aggression will kill the safety. And that's why the divorce rates are going up so high. At workplace, aggression kills trust. That's why from lifelong employment, we have come to a state where people want to change jobs every 18 to 36 months. And for those people who think, oh, no, no, we still work, please look, you already have a selfish vested reason why you are working long in that organization. And that's very, very true. So we are living in a world where sensitive people are collapsing, political people are rising, the organization slowly is becoming a place for survival rather than a place for contribution. This is the harsh truth of today's world. Aggression is often the behavior of a weak inner person. This is what we really need to register to change. A person who cannot self regulate tries to control others. That's what the truth is. A person who cannot face his own insecurities attacks others and somebody else's dignity. A person who cannot tolerate discomfort creates fear around himself or herself for others. This is not strength. This is not emotional maturity. This is manipulation. This is emotional immaturity. This is lack of character strength. This is lack of values. Hope this context helps you shift your life for the good. But what must you do? Here are 6 or 7 things that you can do in your life on a regular basis. Number one, create a no humiliation rule at home and workplace. This should be an absolute given. No judgment, no unnecessary corrections, no character insults, no unnecessary disagreements. You have to bring in the habit of listening deeply and understanding. That has to be the rule. Anger is not allowed, shouting is not allowed, abusing is not allowed, unnecessary arguments is not allowed, character attack and character assassination is not allowed, rushing people is not allowed. Give time, give quality time, quality effort. This has to be the rule at home and the workplace. Without this, we will not slow down enough to correct things. The one rule that can change the energy of a family and an organization is this, that there cannot be any humiliation, any rushing the other person into a corner. Second, slow down your aggressive speech. People need to speak slowly so that you can also listen when your time comes. Stop cutting the other person. Whenever you are speaking, keep contemplating. Am I only speaking the truth? Am I only speaking what is necessary? Can I say this? Can I say what I am saying with a lot of dignity and respect to the other person? Because the person in front of me is much larger than just the person in front of me. There's a whole story, there's a whole life. That is what we need to do to control our tongue, which is a major factor in aggression. Third, let's please separate out firmness from aggression. Can you be firm and certain about things, about mannerisms and life? Yes. Do there need to be boundaries? Yes. Firmness is about keeping clear boundaries and boundaries that you yourself don't violate for convenience. That's the other problem with people. They bring up boundaries when it is convenient for them and they destroy boundaries when it's inconvenient for them. Don't do that. Have clear boundaries. And then, aggression is when you make the other person feel small. Don't do that at all. Firmness and boundaries protect the dharma and the karma. Aggression protects your ego. Don't get into that space and don't drop your boundaries just for your own convenience. Fourth, and this is where there is an overweightage on humor sometimes in our society. There are people who believe that sarcasm can be a very good way of discharging their emotions. Actually, sarcasm can quickly become an emotional violence, and that is what it is today in this world. Everybody seems to be passing these one liners that they have copied from here and there, often from Instagram or some other fake influencer. Once in a while, being funny is wonderful. But every now and then, because you cannot have a conversation, because you want to manipulate someone, because you want to injure somebody without injuring them, then that is wicked. So let's cut out all the taunts and the mocking and the comparison, the eye rollings and the facial controlling expressions and dismissive laughter and poisoned humors. And sarcasm is cowardly, straightforward cowardly when it is brought into relationships. We need to have a better vocabulary, better grammar, better expression to speak about ourselves, respond to others, and build a conversation. Let's build that skill. Fifth, at work especially, please do not indulge in political aggression. And if you are a senior leader, please kill all kinds of political aggression. When people point a finger at another function or another colleague, etc., you need to kill some of this so ruthlessly, punish some of these people so ruthlessly that no one does it again. Remember, there has to be a simple rule at the workplace: come to work to work. Don't come to work for popularity. Don't come to work for gangism. Don't come to work to settle scores, be popular, this, that, and the other. The culture of work has to be come to work to work. That's it. Don't offload all your aspirations onto your workplace and colleagues and seniors in the organization. Come work, get remunerated for it, and go home. That has to be the way work has to be protected. Yes, the workplace can have perks and other civilities, which is fine, but that cannot become the entitlement of people. So you have to be ruthless on, manipulations, deception, aggression, exclusions, framing, gossiping, humiliating, and don't call it a justified leadership style like some others, used to do it. Don't create culture damage. Sixth, and this is very important for you to calm down your mind. Practice one act of restraint in a day. Don't give in to one provocation. Don't give in to one angry message. Don't give in to one angry incident on the road. Don't give in to one judgment. Don't give in to that one bad email. Don't respond to that one harsh sentence. Forgive or forget or just ignore some mistakes of your family members or team members. That is how slowly you will build restraints and patience. And the seventh thing that I want to introduce is a very value oriented concept coming from the Vedic era in our Shastras, which is called Maryada. Maryada is how you address others in a certain setting, etc. How do you behave? There has to be a place, there has to be a way that we speak to our elders. There has to, in this whole thing of calling somebody name, etc., this has gotten so deep into it that we sometimes forget who is that other person, the elderliness of them, the respect that they have earned. And you find it very strange to call somebody sir or ma'am, but can that respect be there in your tone, at least when you call them by their first name, even if you have to do that? In many cultures, even today, it is practiced that you call them by some title or some pseudo name instead of calling their first name, and that has a meaning in it. And some of the Western popularity of calling people by the first name has to be done away with. Yes, you did it at one place to remove hierarchy, but it has now removed respect, and it needs to change. So Maryada has to come in to talk about talking to elders. Similarly, talking to children, we should not infantilize them, but we should talk to them in a right way. Yes, should we correct children? Absolutely, we should. It's the responsibility of elders and seniors to correct it. So that Maryada of relationships has to be brought in. And when you disagree with a spouse, or how you treat a spouse, or how you challenge a colleague or a boss, there has to be Maryada in it. Treating a junior, treating somebody who's working at your office, the janitor, the gatekeeper, how do you treat your housemate? There has to be some Maryada which has to be come in. If you are someone with power, how do you have that Maryada? If you are someone who is working with others with power, how do you have that Maryada? This Maryada, this whole value system of how do you work with others, treat others, talk to others has to be learned. I will speak to you separately about this, but it's a very, very important concept. But each one of us from our common sense can understand this. A society without Maryada about values of interacting with others, may look very stylish and modern, but becomes inwardly very barbaric. Not everything is created equal, and there is no need for bringing equality into everything. There is hierarchy in things. That's how nature is, and some of these things really need to be respected when it comes to human beings. The way we need to engage. The goal is to be strong and connected without becoming excessively soft or excessively harsh. That's what the point is. So, I think all in all, our society needs to become clear without becoming cruel. We need to become honest without really become violent. We need to become powerful without really becoming poisonous. Anger may win in the moment, aggression may win you a few things, but it often loses the relationships and the respect of others towards you. You may not know, but you will suffer in the long run. Aggression may create fear, but it cannot create respect. Manipulation may create control, but it will never create love and loyalty. Politics may create a position for you, but it can never create honor and again loyalty and respect of others. So the next time you say, how do I express this, instead of saying that, can you do this? Can you ask yourself, will this statement, will this comment that I make, will this question that I ask increase the dharma and the consciousness in this situation and relationship, or will it destroy it or create the damage that is already there? The real test of our civilization is not how we behave when everything is comfortable and it's all right. The real test is how we behave when we are corrected, delayed, disappointed, opposed, ignored, challenged, or we are in tense situation. That is where character is really seen. That's the world that we need to move towards. We don't need a world which has a lot more of loud and aggressive people. We need a world which has people who are conscious and regulated and getting things done. We need a world where we are firm without being cruel. That is when we will be known as a world of strength and a world which has samskaras in it. Hope you can take a few things in this and start applying out of that. I will see you very soon. Take care.